Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Generation Z podcast. This is episode 35, and today we are joined with Lubomba Munkuli. So you will probably recognize Lubomba as a Gymshark athlete, and he's also sponsored by My Protein and Muscle Food, and he's also an entrepreneur. So he's got a lot on his CV. So before we start. Before we start this podcast, for me personally, and also for Marcus, this is amazing opportunity for us, and we're really excited to dive into this podcast because we've both been following you for a very long time.
Yeah.
I think I remember following you for about, I think I've been following you for about 2 years now. I'm not
Okay.
sure how long you've been following him for.
Probably about a year, I'd say.
About a year.
Yeah.
So you guys are
So-
pretty good up with the journey in terms of like what you have to day to day. Because I mean, Sam, I've seen you in the gym, so yeah, I've seen you train. So.
Yeah, because I think the first time like we met or I've seen you was when I started going to the same gym as you. I think it was about a year ago at the end of my second year, and it's mad to see like a social media influencer and a Gymshark athlete so close and so like in Oxford, which is like mental for me. So
I mean, the thing is, I can empathize being both a student and being that person, being that individual that people see on social media. But however, in terms of how I feel, it doesn't change between who I am and the person that you spoke to and the person that people see on social media. So for me, I'd like to keep that pretty grounded in terms of who I am as an individual. And I like to have my characteristics
100%.
consistent throughout. Firstly, thanks for having me on the podcast, by the way. The intro was pretty on point.
So, before we jump in, we just want to kind of say thank you for sparing the time to get on this podcast today, because I think this is going to be very helpful for a lot of people listening, because there's a big kind of stigma behind a social media influencer. And I know from talking to you that you are such a grounded and just generally nice person. So I think it will be good for people to listen to like your perspective on life. So
yeah, I'm excited to explore and of course kind of explain my situation and put things into context for a lot of the viewers. So in terms to get this started, a quick introduction for everyone that's listening. My name is Lubomba Munkuli. So right now I'm 24. I finished my degree last year and I'm pursuing my current business, which is multiple businesses ongoing at the same time. However, I've managed to simplify my play of those things in order to make managing that a little bit easier. So I'll dive more into that later on into the podcast. But in terms of a little quick breakdown, so I was born in Zimbabwe. So for those people that are not familiar with my story from YouTube, born in Zimbabwe, migrated to the UK in 2004, like most likely, like the majority of the people around that time, because a lot of people were seeking for opportunities here in the UK, and the UK had its gates open at the time. So my dad came here, got a job, and so the whole lifestyle was very different, was very new to me. So I embraced it very well. I learned very fast. So one thing that I actually discovered is I'm a pretty quick learner. So I'm quite confident in putting myself into very deep situations, regardless of how I feel about the situation, which is interesting, because in business, when you do that, you want to make sure that you're on the right side of that discussion. So, and then went through the whole teenage school lifestyle. So I've always been into football, played basketball, played a lot of sports. I've pretty much played every single sport on paper. Like I played from baseball to golf to tennis. I kind of dabbled into everything. So in terms of me as an individual, I'm very I've always been very active. So my first passion was BMXing. So more like I've always been into bikes. Like I learned to ride a bike at 3. So bikes, it's like my life even to this day. I still follow the action sports world, motocross, etc.
yeah,
that was my first passion. So so went through the whole the school phase, which was interesting. I didn't really have anything special about me that kind of like spoke to a lot of people, apart from one thing, which was my creative side. So in art and photography, I excelled, which managed to kind of get me known as a kid that's like really good at drawing. And so kind of went with that. But again, I didn't really pursue that to my fullest potential. I didn't even try. I didn't even challenge myself. So it wasn't until my final GCSEs and A levels where I really kind of started diving more into that side of my character. And then all of a sudden, between my A levels and uni, I started just experimenting. That's when I really got more into social media. That's when I started creating content. And and things just went from there. Once when I started discovering the side of myself, I was more in tune. It felt more natural. It felt more normal.
Yeah.
I feel like that's probably what's bred the more of the entrepreneurial mindset. Like finding your unique points and what you're interested in and how you view the world and your perspective on the world. So that was kind of molded between the age of 15, 16, and 17. And then it was more solidified. Well, I wouldn't say solidified now, but more solidified between the age of 20 to 24. Yeah.
Perfect, mate. So in regards to like your personal brand, obviously you said there that you're very creative. That's kind of why you started posting to social media, all that kind of thing. When you started posting, was it literally just out of fun for creative reasons then? Did you ever think, I want to make a career out of this, I want to have a following or anything like that? Was it literally just for fun?
Yeah, initially. So through the fitness industry, yeah. So I had the opportunity, like, bear in mind, I started training around the age of 16. So before I started training was to get better at basketball at the time. Because again, I was quite a small kid, like 5'8", probably like, I don't know, like 60 kilograms. And I was like a small kid, but I was very fast.
Yeah.
I wanted to bulk up, so I started spending more time in the gym. So during that process, between the age of 16 and 17, I pegged on quite a bit of mass. So I grew pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So I got a lot of attention. And so that image, my transformational picture at 17, got posted around the world of social media, on Instagram. So a lot of people picked up on it. And then a few of my people I looked up to at the time, guys like Simeon, a few guys from London, and then one of the biggest meme pages at the time reshared it. So my social media, bunch of attention all in one go. Bear in mind, it was only like 2,000 worth of attention, but at the time, it was a lot. And I just saw my phone just blowing up, and I was so confused. I was like, "Shit, this is crazy." But like as an instinct, like I saw the opportunity to kind of build a brand from it.
Yeah.
I don't know where that came from, but it was so natural to me. I was like, "Oh shit, I need to do something about this." So the next day, I made a logo, made a little format of how I would post my content, and now I should look at how people that I look up to kind of navigate through the space, and that's how we went from there. So my unique point in terms of how I separate myself from the other influences, I saw an opportunity to kind of experiment with the medium. So with Instagram, photography, videography, editing, and I kind of started playing around with edits, graphics, etc. And that's how I started building my foundation. And I started as the individual that kind of creates these kind of types of videos, and the content is more like this. And then I kind of built it from there. Yeah.
Perfect. So that's kind of like, you also have your other business. Is it just called Creations?
Yeah, creation.
Yeah. Is that kind of why you started that then? Obviously.
Yeah. So initially, creation as a concept was meant to be a series of YouTube videos teaching people how to edit. And somehow during the process, I found myself like exploring the visual effects that I use on my videos. So in terms of like how people actually make the visual effects, so the transitions, the graphics, etc. During that process, I was able to dissect some of my favorite effects, and I realized that the software which I was using, I could actually spend a little bit more time by tweaking certain things and improving certain things and make it look like the way I want it to look like.
Okay.
Then eventually I found myself in a rabbit hole for six weeks cold, just straight in there, hooked on this software, just being able to extract all the information and learn as much about it as much as I could. And I managed to build the first product within that process. And then it wasn't good enough. So I thought, it would be good if I have a collection of these products and I should put them for sale, because the chances are I'm promoting the products because I'm using them in my own content. So if people are watching my content, they want to do the same thing for their content. So naturally, just went that direction, and I just went ahead, and I went ahead with that. And then right now we have like 20 products in total. Again, these are pretty average based on what the market is delivering at a more professional end. So yeah, that's how that went about. And then creation kind of rose to what it is now. And right now we're currently on phase 2 of the rebranding, actually establishing ourselves as a solid business, and then looking for growth and scaling from January. Yeah.
So I know you have just graduated from Oxford Brookes, haven't you? You did architecture at Oxford Brookes.
Yeah.
So during university, and as well as building your personal brand, what kind of option did you see as having the most longevity? Like at the time, were you all focused on doing the influencers sort of stuff after university, or do you still have a love for architecture and all that sort of, like, is that a genuine passion that you have?
So architecture, I'm intrigued by it. So during uni, I did learn in terms of like the philosophy of architecture and foundation of what architecture is as a discipline. So I was able to kind of get more depth on that. But with architecture in the creative world, it's an extension of our environment. And the more you understand about art, photography, and anything visual and design, I think you appreciate what architecture is. So initially when I got into it, I didn't really know what I was getting myself into. So firstly, I didn't know, but I just like the idea of being in a space where I can get creative and try new things. Yeah. So when it came to it, the first year was more like just traditional architecture. You learn about buildings, about foundation. It was more abstract, I think. Okay. Yeah, it was. It was more abstract, and they really allowed you to kind of try out new things, kind of know like the very surface of architecture. Second year, you kind of get more in depth with the discipline. Yeah. But yeah, in the process of uni, I literally juggled everything, like everything. So before I went to uni, social media was already like popping, you could say. Like it was already like on its way. Yeah. It was really growing. Yeah. And for uni, it just blew up. But yeah, I was juggling everything from content creation in uni. And then second year, I got a part-time job and, started juggling everything in one go. And then halfway through second year, started business and, I got myself into as many situations as I could because I saw the opportunity to try everything. So when I'm finished, I don't need to go through that same period again. And if I do it well, I should have learned through the process and I should be able to apply what I learned into my own business. But I definitely didn't see the opportunity in pursuing architecture after I finished the degree. I just saw the opportunity to be able to do what I want to do, which was more on the social media side. But now I'm more driven towards the business side, which is interesting. Mm-hmm. So it's not necessarily social media as a whole, because with social media, it was almost like for fun initially. So I was just doing it for fun. I was giving people free information, free training workouts, everything. I would just like have it all. This is how I built my physique. This is how you can do it. This is how much you should be eating. Yeah. This is what you should be eating. Whereas now it's got to a point last year where I just started getting paid, where I realized, okay, this is more, I need to adopt more of a business mindset. Mm. And, really, to be honest with you, that's only been activated this year in terms of having that business driven mindset, especially in this, on the social media side. Yeah. And then now we're here.
So as you said, you were doing architecture at uni. You didn't really have a business background or anything like that. No, would you say you've basically built your business how you'd build a physique? Yeah. So like you've got consistency, hard work, patience, all that. Me and Sam were actually talking about this the other day. Is that basically how you'd build a business, you'd say?
I feel like that that process coexists in anything that you do in life. Okay. So what I've realized now, especially now as I've grown and matured more, that the blueprint to success will always be hard work, consistency, and dedication.
Okay.
And, you know, being somewhat like clever, you know, having a form of understanding of how the world works and being able to manipulate that to your advantage and to kind of make your life a little bit easier or your situation a little bit easier. But I feel like the blueprint to anything in life fundamentally will always come down to consistency. When you apply that blueprint to architecture, to your physique, to running a business, to your relationships with your girlfriend, you always see some form of success, because that's what breeds the results which you're looking for. So in a relationship, you have to be consistent in terms of communicating. You need to learn to be consistent, otherwise your relationship is going to go downhill. Again, and also the like emotional side. I'm not going to dive too deep into that. But and then for
Lubomba, the dating coach.
for the athletic side, same thing, same principles apply. Consistency in order to solidify your skill sets, in terms of solidifying your craft and your ability to understand the world of architecture. And when you're building a physique, again, consistency, dedication, and be committed to that process. So I figure that's the blueprint. So now I'm pretty confident, regardless of what I do, because I've mastered my ability to be dedicated in anything, that I can put myself in any situation. As long as if I apply myself, I'll get the results that I'm looking for. And when you're able to do that to a certain caliber, that's how you distinguish, you know, your level between other people and how you do things. So the goal is just to be very, you know, knowing when and how to unlock that. And when you do, chances are you're going to get pretty good results from it.
Yeah. So I'm curious to understand like your definition of success then, because I know I've watched you, I've seen you in the gym, and you've said about how committed you are in all forms of life. Like, how would you define success? Like, are you ever fulfilled as a person, or are you constantly chasing the next thing, or like the next achievement? Do you ever sit back and realize and look around you and realize what you've achieved in that sort of respect?
It's interesting. And my perspective, my perception of success has changed recently, especially in the last like 3 months. So initially, I've always had the idea of the initial concept of what success is to me was certain thresholds through my life and acquiring certain things, whether it's emotionally, physically, or materialistic things. That is how you can differentiate where you are from the past and distinguish where you will be in terms of now and the future. So initially, you know, for example, like my physique, the only way that I was able to rationalize the whole entire process of building this physique was each year I'll put my head down and do so much work within a year. And then when I do lift my head up, I should be there. So it's almost like you teleport in such a weird way. But that was my initial concept. So I told myself, okay, first year I need to look like this, second year like this, third year, fourth year, fifth year. And it actually worked, because when I got to 20, I was like, oh my God, I should look like the way that I wanted to when I was 16. Yeah. So the problem is not every situation works like that. So I applied that concept to my lifestyle, let's say. So at 25, I was like expecting to be like, okay, shit, I need to have a Range Rover, I need to have this, I need to have that and that because of X, Y, and Z. But I realized, holy shit, hang on a minute, life doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
So you can't look at success based on what you acquire and what you achieve, but more of the process of how you are in your current environment. So that is success. So even though I initially had that mindset, and now based on my old mindset, I am successful based on the old mindset, but based on my current situation, I don't feel successful. So that's when I realized, oh shit, I can't use that as a metric to measure success, because when you do get there, there's no fulfillment. So you've got the things that you want. You know, I'm pretty independent right now. I'm pretty happy with my life. So, but I'm living the life that I wanted to when I was 20. So it's like, holy shit, I don't even feel any different. So now I've shifted my mindset from that to more, I need to have a bigger image of what my success looks like and what's my definition of success. So my definition of success is being the best version of yourself at any given moment. Again, it fluctuates, but being constantly pursuing the best version of yourself, you know, because if you're constantly pursuing that route, you know, you'll be very fulfilled, you know. So in my current situation, it's like, you know, being happy with what I'm doing and the people around me and helping the people that are around me and building something that has depth and meaning. But at the same time, because I'm happy with what I'm doing, it doesn't matter whether it's going good or bad, but it's just the process of being there, knowing that I'm building the best version of myself because I'm exposing myself to those situations. Therefore, I'm much stronger than I was yesterday. Therefore, in future, I'll be more prepared for what I'm looking for. Therefore, I should be happy with what I'm doing. So yeah, it's changed. So now it's self-development.
Yeah.
It's current stage.
Because I remember us speaking that, like, and you said to me that you're just relentless to the process, and I think that's such a amazing phrase for people to kind of remember. And a lot of people think about the product of the effort that they put in, but they don't put a lot of effort into looking at the process and how they develop as an individual. As you said, like looking down throughout the year and just focusing, being dedicated for that whole year, and then when the time comes you can look up and appreciate how well you've worked. But during that year it's all about being relentless to that process.
You have to be. Yeah, relentless is definitely one of the descriptions, the words I would use to describe myself. I'm very relentless to the process of whatever I do. So, and going through that is, a huge, there's big learning curves. So what I'm learning right now, especially the situation I'm in, going from the mindset of being a student and the mindset that has built the person that I am today, I've realized that because I'm living that environment, it's learning how to navigate through that space. So right now I'm in the process of learning how to navigate through this new world that I'm in. Because now I own a business and I've got multiple things going on. I'm trying to build my physique, I'm trying to maintain all these things. But now it's like, this is what I needed the most. So now I'm restructuring my environment to establish a position where if I apply that relentless approach, that whatever happens, it's not one-fold, two-folds. It's more like 5 folds of success, 10 folds of success. But that thing, it needs to be, it's kind of breeding productivity in that environment. Because it's like, one thing I realized, once you start living the life that you wanted to, you can get quite complacent. You can relax. But for me, it's like, because I've listened to a lot of people that say you should take time out, you should do this, you should take care of this. I do agree. You should definitely look at your sleep. Your health is everything. You should have more of, I should devote time to your social life. Because I've listened to people because of those things, it's like, I feel like I kind of lost my initial perspective of what actually makes me happy and what actually makes me the person I am. So that's the current position I'm in right now. I'm reestablishing like the target and get my psyche back in terms of like what took me through uni, but without that environment, which is kind of pretty hard to comprehend because that environment, like I work my best in pressure. And when you don't have pressure anymore, it's like you need to learn how to navigate through that again, because like you have to create the pressure for yourself. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
With uni, it's like
you've got to be accountable all the time.
You have to be accountable all the time. So now it's like, so for me, I'm going through this maturing stage where I'm like, shit, like I need to figure out like my own goals, my own targets, my own pretty much my own objectives across the board of everything, So, during that process, one thing you learn is like, because you're now independent, every little bit matters, you know what I mean? How you take care of yourself, your food, your place.
Yeah, exactly.
From cleaning to literally everything, which is crazy because in most situations, at 9 to 5, those situations are already made for you. So I realized this is a whole different world when you have to recreate all those things for yourself, and it takes time. So that's the period which I'm going through right now, reestablishing, oh shit, like I need to put these things in place in order to be the person that I am and I want to be, and to keep progressing. So yeah, it's a lot. It's a big learning curve for me. Like, it's crazy. And I feel like a lot of people will go through that phase. Because some of my friends, they've been through that period when they finished their degree, pursuing the social media life. But it it was so unnatural to be in an environment where you can do whatever you want, when you want, how you want. But that's not necessarily like a good thing.
Is that kind of why you've got into, I think you said earlier, kind of focusing on self-development a bit? Is this kind of all started once you finish uni and you realize like you're kind of trying to figure like stuff out, invest more time in yourself, that kind of thing?
Literally, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So now just my well-being. So like my biggest investment this year is literally being able to figure out who I am, what I'm doing, my purpose, and what's around me.
Okay.
And that within itself, I've realized it's a much bigger task than it seems. So I wrote a caption like a few days ago. I made a post where I wasn't as active on social media. Because before it was easy to make content because I'm just making content when I get time, like especially after like say after a lecture, I start making content. Whereas now you have an opportunity to make content every single day, every single hour of your time. It's like the landscape is completely shifted. Do you know what I mean? Because now it's a job, but you need to apply yourself to be able to do that job consistently, but also being able to do the other things.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so now self-development is everything. So I'm kind of like, it's almost like solidifying yourself as a man and who you are as an individual, like where you stand and what your purpose is. And then, you know, you need to be able to, you know, have an identity, because usually in uni or, you know, through your teen years, like you don't really know who you are as an individual.
Yeah.
And between the age of 24 to 30 is usually the window where people are still kind of figuring themselves out.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I've been trying to do that all within a space of a year, and it's been quite a bit.
Yeah, did a lot of work.
Yeah, on top of running everything.
Yeah. I mean, I was actually going to touch on self-development later, but now that we're already on the topic, I'll just go with it. So I want to know, like, kind of what motivates you? Like, as you said, you're relentless to the process. Like, when did that kind of come about? Like, was it when you were a child, or how did it start? Like, have you always been this way?
Yeah, yeah, to a degree. So I only realized, I think my realization came, obviously, I began to understand a little bit later on, like my life. I kind of discovered it in my teen.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, no, I discovered it more recently, but it was always there. So from the day I learned to ride a bike, for example, like riding a bike, it took me like a matter of a few hours to learn how to actually ride a bike with no stabilizers. Like,
okay.
So I remember that vividly because I still remember being 3 years old on this huge field back in Zimbabwe, like my dad pushing the bike and letting go, and I was able to ride the bike. But from there, I remember a very unique moments where my dad would do something and I would learn to do it right after, and I would apply it and keep doing that thing. So in terms of my creative world came from when I believe it came from when my dad taught me how to draw a shoe. Like, I remember he did this little sketch of a shoe, and it's like a silhouette of a shoe. However, that image it was so embedded into my head that from that day on, I started spending more time drawing. Like, literally, I believe that's the point where I started doing that. And then ever since, I started spending more time drawing, making stuff, etc. And then in school, I started doing more things like that. And then now, before you know it, it's like my life. But one thing that I realized I had was obsession. So I'm obsessed with whatever I find very intriguing there and then. So initially it was learning how to ride a bike, and then it was the shoe. So obsession is probably the thing that will take people to the next level. If you're not obsessed with something, there's a probably chance you're not going to be very good at that thing. But the reason why certain people are so good at something is because they're obsessed with it. They do it every single day. They think about it. They breathe about it. That's all they do. Mm-hmm. So fitness became that thing. I was obsessed with fitness. I was obsessed with making content. But when that becomes your job, it doesn't require to be obsessed anymore. You just do it because that's what you do. Mm-hmm. So like I said, in terms of development, I'm regaining that obsession of realizing, okay, I need to still be obsessed with that thing in order to excel at that thing. But my obsession has shifted from, rather than being my physique, to being the overall development of Lubomba. So for me, that looks like, a more complete version of myself where it's just not fitness. So now it's like fitness, business, X, Y, and Z, you know. So I'm obsessed with creating the full image of who I am as an individual. So now I'm obsessed with every single corner of myself, you know,
And
who I am, my knowledge, etc., and a whole bunch of other stuff. So obsession is the key word.
I was actually going to ask, like, how are you going to go about that, making you the best version of yourself? Is there any certain habits that you've started incorporating, routines, anything like that?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah. So again, routine is nothing that's new to me. So I have an obsession of getting things down to the T. So I have an obsession of getting things very consistent.
Okay.
So my food, my breakfast is probably one thing. So people
see it on your stories, mate.
every day, like people see my breakfast, like
It's relentless.
Yeah.
I'm obsessed with implementing something and doing that thing every single day. That is how I approach the gym. I have to do something every single day to prove that it's worth doing in the first place, which is a little bit messed up when you think about it. But that is how I prove to myself. So obsession, I use it like that. So now it's like I'm obsessed with like everything. So for me, I'm obsessed. For example, like I live on my own, and I'm obsessed with like the cleanliness of my house, my apartment. I'm obsessed with where things are, how I do things. I'm obsessed with when I wake up, what I do when I wake up, and how I do it. I'm obsessed with, you know, how my life is structured towards my goal. I'm obsessed with building that version. And when I don't do those things, you know, it doesn't vibe with me. It doesn't agree with me. I'm like, well, I need to be doing something. So if I don't put attention here, I'll put it here. So if it's development, I'll probably put like one small example. Like I've shifted my attention to more of fashion. So how I dress, how I look, how I present myself. Because I didn't have the opportunity, I didn't have the money, I didn't have the freedom to do that. So now that I'm, you know, I'm almost liberated from that environment, it's okay, I can put the time now to actually build my best version. So, you know, taking care of yourself is one thing. So every guy, every kid that's listening, at some point in your life, you need to put more attention to how you present yourself, you know, cleanliness, etc. Every ounce of yourself that makes you a man. So those little things I've been building. But again, I give credit to my dad. He's obviously growing up, you know, he was always telling me, hey, you need to do your tie like this. You need to comb your hair. You need to do this. So those things have kind of like trickled into my life.
Yeah.
I'm just obsessed with like building my best version and how I maintain myself as an individual of character with character. And just, I come in, just, there's so much, like literally there's so much.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think there's a lot of power that you can have from being obsessed like you are in that sort of aspect. Like, sounds like you're also obsessed with kind of being outside and away from the crowd. You want to stand out. You want to be constantly outside of your comfort zone and testing yourself every day, because we've said on the podcast, like in so many episodes, that your life starts at the end of your comfort zone and at the start of your uncomfort zone. So I think that you are literally like a testament to that. And like, if people can go on your Instagram and be like, that is the product of being obsessed, essentially, I think.
So I feel, for me personally, like my best version is to come, and I believe that because I'm still not the complete version of myself. I'm not, my physique is not the best that people have seen. Because again, being in uni, that wasn't the key priority because I had to prioritize my time to other things, even though that was a key obsession. But yeah, so it's like, you know, you have to get used to being uncomfortable, and being comfortable breeds laziness. And I 100% agree with that. So right now, in terms of business, my mindset shifted in terms of actually putting myself in a situation which scares me. So we're actually looking to get an office. That literally scares me. Like looking at how much money is going out based on how much money we're actually making.
Yeah.
So that scares me. Building a team, that scares me because I'm so used to working on my own and being in my own environment. And yeah, so building a team, that scares me. Trying to scale the business now, that scares me. You know, challenging the contracts that I have with companies and brands, taking that stance scares me because again, I put myself in a situation where I'm not necessarily the individual that I want to be, or I'm not in the position where I'm at, but I know in terms of like a contract, that is where I should be at. But for me personally, I'm not there yet. But trying to get that before you get there is like an interesting dynamic. But yeah, it all I mean, yeah, it all comes with time. But yeah, you have to put yourself in uncomfortable situations like all the time. Like for me, I'm not a great public speaker. And 2 weeks ago, I did a live podcast or like a live Q&A with like 70 people on it. Bear in mind, I spoke to a crowd of like 200, 300 people at the Gymshark We Lift event, We Lift Manchester. So that was my first initial like public speaking, which was terrifying. But I put myself in a position, and 2 weeks ago, put myself into that situation, and I did another event like a year ago. But constantly putting yourself in those situations as much as you can to solidify how you behave in that environment and kind of liberate yourself from your fears is probably the best thing you can do for yourself. Yeah. And that's what I always do.
Like you said there, you don't like public speaking, you have to do one at the Gymshark event. Did you feel good afterwards though? Because we say quite a lot, like, even though you hate doing it at the time, afterwards, usually on the other side of fear is like kind of enjoyment. You feel good about yourself.
See, I'm the opposite. I like putting myself in a spot, like in a really terrifying spot. But again, I have the obsession of being analytical. So what I do in a situation like that, this is probably where it gets a little bit crazy. So for example, that public event, and it's all on camera, it's all filmed.
Yeah.
I'll go back to the same footage and watch myself in terms of how I articulate myself, what I say, how I say it, in terms of how I present myself.
Yeah.
So from that, I'm able to gauge who I'm at. So in terms of my public speaking, it's like, if I'm not an awkward person, because I put myself in many awkward situations to get enough information in order to build or to build that confidence, to not be so awkward.
Yeah.
So with that event, I was able to look at myself, judge myself, get information from myself, and be like, okay, you're a little bit awkward there. Maybe you shouldn't say stuff like that. Maybe you should take your time to actually process the question that you have and then deliver your answer. So those things. So I feel like that's what people have, but I feel like that's what people don't have. So they don't take that extra step to see what they did wrong. So when someone tells you that you're perfect, to an individual, to say individuals like myself, if someone ever told me that I'm perfect in any given situation, I'll be like, no, I'm not. I'm just prepared for that situation. Okay. Or I've been able to actually analyze myself in order to be perfect at that thing. So bodybuilding is one example. Like someone could say your physique is perfect, and my answer would be like, it's not perfect. I've just been obsessed with every angle to ensure that it delivers the message as if it's perfect or appears to be perfect. However, I'm still learning, but I'm building that. But eventually you will, again, by doing that, you're pushing your standards higher as an individual. You're pushing your limits, you're pushing your achievements, you're pushing everything. So now when you think about self-development, you think of the whole picture. So when you apply these things to small little things, from like your overall cleanliness and being disciplined with that, your overall nutrition and food, etc., and training, everything is kind of pushing. You're kind of like, every angle of your life is like being built. Obviously it takes longer, but after a good few years, you'll be a pretty well-rounded person in any situation. So someone could ask you a question about X, Y, and Z, and you can, deliver an answer based on your experience and based on what you've done. So it's a good way to look at life in terms of any opportunity to be better is a good stance to take. And again, you got to put yourself in a very deep spot, put yourself in the shit in order to actually build from it.
Yeah. Have you ever doubted yourself during the process? Have you ever had moments where you've been like, oh shit, this isn't what I'm used to, or this isn't something that I don't think I can achieve? Like, or have you always just through past experience just had a self-belief that anything that you go into, you're just gonna
I'll be lying if I said
you will succeed,
because I'm experiencing that now.
Okay.
So it might be, based on what people see and based on how things are now, could be a little bit contradictory, but now there are more variables. So now when you have a team, it's no longer about the decisions that you make. It's the decisions that you make on behalf of the team. It's the decisions that you make on behalf of everything that's around you. So this is where it gets hard. So when it's just you, it's fine. You know what I mean? So, you know, you have your expectations, you have your own standards. But once when you start offloading those standards to other people, this is where things kind of shift. So now initially it's like, okay, this is the vision that I have. This is what I can do to get there. But now in order to get there, I also need to put myself through this situation. Where am I, you know, where I need to do certain things that, you know, again, that puts me out of my comfort zone because I'm putting trust in other people and have to accept the current situation for what it is in order to build on top of that, to then build this bigger image. So that is the situation. That's the situation that I'm going through now. I'm, you know, on top of everything else that's going on. It seems like it's quite a lot at this point. But yeah, that's the situation I'm in. Yeah, so now it's yeah, I'll question in terms of like the depth of of the situation that I'm in, and if I'm actually capable of doing it, because I'm actually beginning to experience the reality of it, if that makes sense. Because now that I'm actually experiencing the reality of it, I'm getting a little bit scared. Initially, I didn't have that. So now I'm actually now I'm actually going through a process of like, holy shit, this is actually quite a lot. I don't know if I signed up for this. But yeah, now that I'm beginning to experience the bigger picture, I'm like, okay. I'm having like second thoughts and actually trying to be more calculated and not just be very jumpy and very spontaneous. So yeah, but I feel like that's because I've set such a high goal, such a high standard of what I want and the vision of what I have. So in order for that to happen, I do need to go through this process.
Okay. I just want to have one more question on self-development as well. You said that you live on your own.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're very busy. You've got a lot of stuff going on. I kind of assume maybe you keep your circle fairly small. I feel like even though you've got, I don't know, what is it, like over 600k followers or something, do you still keep your circle and like close friends pretty small, would you say?
Very, very,
Yeah.
very, even very small inside that circle, very small. So yeah. So me as an individual, I'm quite, I am what's what I'm looking for? More introverted in some ways.
Okay.
So I see myself as a hybrid actually, in terms of like, I can put myself out of my comfort zone and put myself in a situation where an extrovert would excel. So again, public speaking, being able to be more comfortable around people. But yeah, I'm more of an introvert. So I do like my own solitude. I like my own space. I like my own environment.
Yeah.
So that environment for me mentally is what's built who I am, because it's always been me in my space doing what I do.
So it's benefited you quite a lot then, having a small circle, you'd say?
Yeah, it has.
Yeah.
It has. So even with friends, like again, like I keep it, you know, in terms of my core friends, I'll probably count them on 5 fingers. So yeah, it's very, very small, you know. Again, in terms of my family right now, like family is like very small. Like my family, mom, dad, and brother, like, you know, we're a family of 4.
Yeah.
You know, the minimal approach to things kind of coexist in everything that I do. So my family, the fact that, you know, I only have 1 brother and mom and dad, which means my family is very small, but how I see things, it's always keeping them very minimal. So in terms of my lifestyle, I keep it very simple because, you know, clarity is probably another tool that contributes to success. So clarity is important. So, but yeah, I like to keep things very small, minimalistic, and simple to keep it simple in order to promote. I had a really good word. So yeah, simplicity will always breeds consistency.
Okay.
The simpler something is, the easier it is to maintain and be consistent at. So again, my food, I keep it very simple. So the more things I can implement in my life that keeps things simple, in theory, the more simpler my life should be.
Yeah.
So the problem is, the more successful you become, the more complicated things become because you introduce more things into your life. But I'm learning this now. So the simpler you keep your life whilst growing financially, again, you'll be able to retain more money by your friendship group. If you're able to retain that within your core circle, you know, you're minimizing yourself from, you know, all kinds of variables from family, from friends, family, finance to relationships.
That's quite interesting, actually. But I think the next topic we wanted to speak about was the fitness industry and social media marketing.
Yeah.
And we're both quite interested in this because obviously I follow people fairly closely within the fitness industry. I'm into bodybuilding. I'll keep up to date with it. But to actually work inside the fitness industry is obviously going to be very different.
Yeah.
But the first thing I just want to ask really is just, obviously you're a Gymshark athlete. How did that actually come about?
So the first time they contacted me, I said no, or I wasn't interested.
Oh, really?
So the initial contact, I was not interested. I was like, no, I'd rather not.
How come?
Because I didn't feel like I was ready.
Okay.
And on the brand itself, again, you have to realize sometimes when an opportunity comes knocking on your door, it might be the biggest opportunity in the world, but you need to be prepared for that opportunity. You need to be the person that they're looking for. So much if I accepted being with Gymshark then, when I'm not the best version of myself, when I haven't been exposed into that environment of, building my strengths, exposing myself to more situations that allow me to be a little bit, to be more professional to that new opportunity. So I wasn't ready. So in terms of where I was with my physique, my life was all over the place. Being a student, my physique wasn't where I wanted to be. My social media was not where I wanted to be. My influence was not to the magnitude that I wanted to be at. So I said, no, it's not the right time. And then the second time, I felt somewhat ready because I could see the end of the tunnel in terms of uni and what I actually want to venture into. So yeah, it was more about timing. So timing is everything, because it will just allow you to be be a little bit better at what you're doing. So the chances are if I took that opportunity earlier on, I probably would look more like a rookie.
Okay.
When I accepted the opportunity recently, well, more like last year, but I felt like I was more professional with how I handled the situation and my relationship with them. So again, you need to be able to, in your life, you need to be able to manage these things and actually investigate and make sure that you're making the right decision. Otherwise, that relationship, if I accepted early and I wasn't doing my job properly, that relationship will end much faster.
Yeah.
Now I can create more of a longevity approach to what I'm doing and my relationship with them. But yeah, that option is awesome. Like Gymshark, incredible people. Yeah. But yeah, I was never fussed. Like the interesting thing that I found with me is I don't really care about being a Gymshark athlete. I'm not the facade. Surprised me. It's the idea of what you do within that space. So the idea of say like having a Ferrari doesn't intrigue me. It's more the process. The idea of being I don't know, give me an example. Like everything people fantasize about, I always have an opposite perspective. So people always want, like, say, they want the life of like being successful. I want the life of going through the shit and actually understanding how that thing works.
Yeah.
I want to be like Gary Vee and be the person that does all this crazy stuff, work, blah, blah, blah. But people are not actually in love with the process. People want the money, but they don't know how to get the money, or they're not in love with the process. People want the best of things, but they don't know how to, they're not in love with the process of getting that thing.
Yeah.
Because when that thing gets taken away from you, you'll be lost if you don't have that core value of why you want that thing. So yeah, that option is incredible. Being a Gymshark athlete is, for me, there will always be something bigger than that.
Okay.
So
yeah, that's quite interesting you say that, actually.
More to come. Like, this is what I get. The fact that it's happened so early in my career, it's like, holy shit. Like,
yeah,
I've done okay, but there's so much more room. That's what scares me. There's so much more room to prove to the world or to show people what I'm capable of. If Gymshark is happening now, at my very least, at my very bottom, like, no offense to myself, like, I'm still at the very bottom tier of what I set out to do, but I'm scared to know what my fullest potential, firing on all cylinders, looks like. That's what I'm waiting for.
So in terms of your like personal brand, would you say that you take pride in your following, or do you just look at your followers as just a number on a screen? Because a lot of people in this day and age, like social media, they do, as you said, they fantasize about being a celebrity, or they fantasize about being like big on a social media platform. Do you just see the follower account that you have as just a number, or is that a testament to your hard work? You know,
I take more pride. So this is where it gets interesting. I take more pride in the interactions and the connection that I've built with those people. So for me, I should be able to meet those people in person, and I should be able to portray who I am as an individual in front of them. So obviously, for example, like, if I went to an expo, if I met you, shook your hand, I should talk to you. For me, that is probably the most important thing. Because with social media, it's very quick. It's very easy to make an action happen, but that action might not have any substance in it. Do you know what I mean? So I value the more of the intimate connection with individuals. But it's very difficult to do that at scale, at mass. So the only thing you can do to approach that is giving valuable content, which is very relatable and very specific. So that's the approach which I take. From a business perspective, the goal is to show you how I do it step by step. So the idea of the breakfast every morning is to show you that to get to this level, you need to be consistent every single day. If you want to get to this level, you need to do something every single day.
Yeah.
If you want to build a physique like this, you need to train like this every single day. Not necessarily every single day, but like that. It gives context. So that's my approach. So for me, the following, initially it was cool, but now I've realized, it doesn't really matter. Like, it's the impact which you make to the people. And the older you get, the more, it builds a stronger connection of your purpose. Because when you're younger, you're like, oh shit, cool, I've got all these followers. Look at me, I can do X, Y, and Z, who you associate with, who you know. But the older you get, the more you realize that stuff doesn't even matter, really care. And for me, that recently, like, wow, just like I've experienced enough of the industry to not really care anymore, in the sense of like the situation I'm in, the people that I know, the position I'm in, like, I'm like, it's cool, but I'm far much happier doing the things that make me happy, and I should know that thing has a positive impact.
Yeah, that's quite interesting you said that, actually. I feel like, obviously, Mo Samuels. I feel like he's kind of going through the same thing as well. I was listening to his podcast, and he was saying, like, he always wanted 100K subs on YouTube, I think it was. And he finally got there, and he said it was the least fulfilling thing he's ever done. And it's like, with his Instagram as well, obviously he's got a big following on there. He can get a lot of engagement, but it's his podcast which, out of everything, gets like the least number of views, but it's the engagement from that podcast that he gets. He gets DMs saying, this podcast really helped me, it's changed my mindset. And he said that's actually his favorite thing. So actually it's not so much the following, it's what you do with it, is basically what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Mo's right. Like, obviously, for those people that don't know, me and Mo go way back. He's one of my closest friends. So yeah, he's right. So, I'm kind of happy that I didn't have that mindset when I started. So it wasn't necessarily about the following. So it was about doing something every single day. And I realized, okay, if you keep doing it every day, you're going to get that anyway. So let's say the idea of being a millionaire is the goal for majority of the people. The less time you spend thinking about becoming that and focusing more on the process, there's probably a good chance you will be.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So rather than thinking about, I want 600, if you kind of take the attention away from that and put it more in what you're doing, and chances are you're going to get it. But with social media, one little pro tip is that you actually have to be, this is what I'll separate myself from certain influencers. In this world, in the influencer world, you're always going to get that individual that will put a camera in front of their face and they're going to get views. So rule number one, not never, but don't always follow that individual, or you need to be able to distinguish a person like that. Fundamentally, everyone does have to work hard to a degree, but there's individuals from experience. There's individuals that will put a camera in front of their face and they'll get like 100,000 followers, over much faster than you will. And there's type 2. So person number 2 is more like myself, where everything that you do and everything that you acquire, everything that you accomplish, you have to actually, like, you have to put 3, 4, 5, 6 times as much work as the other person just to get equally the same.
Okay.
So I always understood this, being grown up in a situation, being a minority and always being looked down upon. Like, that was always like, I always had that mindset of like, I need to do twice as better as the next person in order to get some similar recognition. So for me, that's more natural. So for people that are watching, some other influencers, the chances are that route is a little bit easier for them than it is for you. So fundamentally, you need to get the idea of working hard in the first place. That's the blueprint, like I said. So if you want to get 100 million, if you want to get 1 million followers, it's possible for any of you, but you need to be obsessed with the process. You need to be clever enough to see the little gaps and how to manipulate the system, how to be creative in the system, and how to create a hook that gets more attention to your content. You have to obsess with every ounce of that in order to get that 100 or that 1 million. And that's the harsh truth. And I'm pretty sure majority of the people that have a goal like that, they'll never get it because they just don't know. They don't understand the platform within enough depth to be able to do that. The only reason why I say that is because I am that person. So I don't think there was any luck. It's purely because I was obsessed with like the hashtags, all the new features. I was obsessed with, picking the right points, not necessarily picking, but understanding how to take an image, composition, where to put the image, how to put the image, how you can tweak the image, how you can put yourself in order to portray the best version of your physique. On top of that, have enough skills in terms of editing to push that to its maximum potential. Even though, your physique might be here, but you can always push yourself to appear more than what you are. So I really understand how to sell myself in any given situation. So that takes a level of obsession where you need to, but again, you need to understand within, you need to have enough depth, you need to understand and have enough depth to able to distinguish yourself and take yourself away from that idea of social media where it doesn't become toxic. Do you know what I mean? So for me, I'm not attached to the idea of this thing. I just know what I'm doing on behalf of other people to get the most attention from them. I know who I am. I'm pretty confident in my own skin, but I just know how to put myself in the best position. Do you know what I mean? So that takes a different understanding where you see the world from a different perspective, or you see yourself from a different perspective, and you're able to manipulate and put things and create a narrative in a way that makes sense to you. But at the same time, you're not selling your soul to the devil. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think social media has provided people with a lot of opportunities, as much as it's provided you with a lot of opportunities. But me and Marcus have kind of talked about social media in a broader context, and we think that there are some bad parts to it. And I can remember looking back, you uploaded your 10-year challenge onto your Instagram, and me and Marcus was like, that's just incredible. Like, the progress that you made, I think it was from 16 to 17, was unfucking real. And then we kind of looked at the comments, and a lot of them were quite negative. And I just want to kind of ask, like, is that negativity towards your achievements? Like, is that something that you find frustrating, or because you're so confident in yourself, you're like not really too bothered? But in a fitness industry, it's quite common, isn't it, for a lot of people to downplay others' achievements? So has that been quite difficult for you?
I wouldn't say it was difficult. It never put me off track, but it did get to me in certain situations where my goal again was to be the best version of myself and hopefully have people actually applaud you for it. Like, who doesn't want to, have that? Like, it's nice when you get people actually rooting for you and supporting you for what you've done. But the fitness industry, over the period of time, I realized, holy fuck, like, this is the complete opposite of what I was expecting. So, for a natural bodybuilder to be able to accomplish a certain physique, that is somewhat it's achievable, but again, it takes a certain framework, a certain mindset to achieve the extraordinary. But you'd expect people to be like, oh shit, you've actually done something, like, well done. But no, it's opposite. So it's always a big debate in the industry of when it comes to that topic of how much you can achieve. But achievement within itself already shows that it takes a certain individual to get there. So there's a good chance you might not look like that, but that's just how life is. Not everyone gets to run 100 meters in less than, in 9 seconds. But you need to at least have appreciation for that individual and say, well, congrats.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But in the fitness industry, you don't get that. Everyone thinks everyone's the same. We're not the same. We're not. Do you know what I mean? That's what puts people in a certain situation. Becoming a Gymshark athlete is not just, they don't just pick a random individual. You actually need to do certain things. You need to be a certain person and you need to be at a certain level. Do you know what I mean? So if you're a Gymshark athlete, you're somewhat professional in what you do. You've been established as an individual that's very good at what they do. You solidified that thing. So they go for you because you'll be able to promote their brand and put effort and actually do it very professionally. So people don't understand that. So yeah, that 10-year transformation, again, my vision is to document everything. Like I said, I'm obsessed with telling the whole entire story step by step. If I could, I would tell it day by day. But that's pretty impossible. But that 10-year span, I'm looking to do that for the next 8 years probably and show every stage of my life. And I could tell you exactly what I did within that process. That is the goal. So again, people don't appreciate that because initially I thought, wow, people are going to be so impressed. People are going to be so happy. I actually went out my own way to create this. But what do you know? People are like, nah, bro, he's on steroids. He's doing this, he's doing that. I'm like, bro, like the whole idea was to prove to you that it is.
Yeah.
That it's not. I'm like, well, I just wasted my time. But I realized I can't focus on those individuals.
Yeah.
It's on the people that can visualize themselves in that position doing that same thing and actually trying to achieve that level of what I've set. But again, you can always exceed that. Do you know what I mean? There's people that have set a pretty big standard of what's achievable. But whether you want, if you are going to be the guy that's going to push the next limit, who knows? But people don't see the world like that. They just think everything is attainable, achievable to them. No. Bro, like I said, everyone wants 1 million followers, but in reality, you're not going to get it. Everyone wants to have everyone wants to have money in their bank account at a pretty ridiculous rate. No one ever wants anything in moderation, but the ones that want it in abundance, you're never going to get it. You're literally never going to get it unless the day you decide that you are going to be the guy. And even then, you're still playing with like a very, with the tightest margins. It's crazy, bro. But that's the reality.
Yeah, because I know the people in the comments, like, I know that the vast majority of them don't know how much effort you put into the hustle every day. They don't see you training at Buzz Gym, like that's the place where you train. So like they can't have an opinion because they don't know the work ethic that you are putting yourself through every day.
But those individuals usually those guys are the ones that don't follow me. Because the ones that do follow me, I've subconscious.
I hate that. It's just so frustrating.
Yeah. So what I've done is the ones that do follow me, I've sort of embedded that into their heads before they realize what I'm actually doing. So the image of the breakfast, that is my ticket to prove how consistent I am. You know what I mean? So if anyone ever doubts my consistency, I'll be like, well, if I can eat the same thing every single day, wake up every time at this time, what makes you think that I can do X, what makes you think I can't do X, Y, and Z within this day? If I can do this within this day, what makes you think I can't do that within a week? If I can do that in 5, what makes you think I can't do that in 10? You know what I mean? Because I've given context to what I'm doing. So that image, that my breakfast is a tactical way. It's my golden ticket to buying people into my world of what it takes. So I bet any individual that watches my stories, that to a degree, that none of them can do that. Only a very small percentage of individual could ever accomplish that level of consistency, because that is the harsh reality of the world. Because not everyone will be able to maintain that. But it's the ones that establish their own method, their own psyche, their own principles that allow them to do that will do it. But for the majority of people, they're all like, oh shit, you're consistent. I want to be like you. No, you're not. You can try. But the thing is, you just need to establish a deeper connection with yourself that will allow you to do that. That's where that stems from. So me posting that, It's not me just posting an image. It's far much deeper than that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That goes 10 years, that goes back 6-7 years. 6-7 years. Every single day I've been eating the same breakfast. So again, this is where you need to be able to separate the reality of what you're seeing on social media and try to understand the deeper meaning to certain things. So for me, there's certain individuals which I've followed, someone like Simeon, in the fitness industry, not necessarily of what he's accomplished, but the little things that he does in between that I've allowed him to get there, which allows me to believe who he is and what he says, because it's been proven over time of, more than 5 years, 10 years, 15, 20 years. Then it gives you a blueprint of what actually you need to be doing. And if you follow a certain blueprint, there's a pretty good chance you're going to get there. Again, it takes a long time. So it's creating that depth for yourself and that understanding of, and that's just a reflection on you. That's you literally writing a contract to yourself that you're going to accept that lifestyle. You're going to accept what comes with it. You're going to accept the sacrifices. And that's just how it is. But it's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah.
There's so much depth. Trust me, I can go on, but yeah, there's so much.
I want to know, like, with your following, and obviously you're sponsored by Gymshark, you're in the fitness industry, to some extent, right? You could kind of say you almost make a career out of the way you look. Would you say you ever feel a pressure to look a certain way? Because me and Sam was saying, like, a lot of people want to be an influencer, but then when you take a step back and actually think these people are under a lot of pressure sometimes. I'm not saying you, it could be somebody else that you know.
I know, it's fair, it's fair.
Yeah? Like,
no, I don't. Like I said, you need to be clever enough to see things from an external perspective where you can see yourself. So I knew what I was going into. And I know that this world of social media revolves around visuals, self-esteem, whether it's positive or negative. And it's always a reflection of the individual. So I need to get myself out of that mindset because that's very toxic. So I need to put myself in a position where what I'm doing is for myself, how I look and how I feel. So if I can be the best version of myself, it means everyone around me will be playing catch up. So based on, like I said, based on my physique and how I look, I got sponsored by Gymshark at my worst, at my least effective, Lubomba, least successful, least of everything, because I wasn't willing to bend my vision and my goal in order to cater for someone else. So what people do in the social media world, they tend to bend towards where the views are, where people put them in a position to be admired, just like life. They will bend their moral compass for money.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah.
But if you can see yourself from if you can see that perspective, take yourself away from that perspective, you can manipulate that perspective. So you need to be able to judge all these things from that, where you actually make the best decision for yourself. And what, I didn't take that sponsorship initially because I didn't want to bend towards the image of being a Gymshark athlete at that time. Because I didn't want that pressure. I didn't want to, accept money as an incentive to do the things that I'm doing, unless I get to a point where I do it because it's my life. So now my strategy with content, I only document the things I go through. I don't need to go on my own way to make a thumbnail or make a video based on something that I'm not doing. I only document what I'm doing. So now you're probably in the best position if you can think like that. So in terms of my strategy, on social media, to be somewhat comfortable in this environment was to be sponsored by a clothing company, a food company, and a nutrition company. So fast forward to now, I don't need to pay for food. I don't need to pay for clothes. I don't need to pay for nutrition. I don't need to pay for supplements. Whether I'm making money or not, I don't need to pay for those things. I get them for free. And as a bonus, I get paid for it. And on top of that, I'm just documenting my life and I'm getting paid to live. But long term, you're just getting paid to live. So majority of these influencers, they become a slave to the system.
Yeah.
Bro, it gets really deep. But like, in terms of who I am, I don't need to create content. I am the content. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Doing the podcast right now, it literally takes 2 minutes to take a frame of it, 20 seconds, and that's a bit of content. Give myself the time to learn and acquire this knowledge and the experience. So you need to get yourself out of the system. And that is how you're able to live life much free, stress-free. Do you know what I mean? So food, the fact that I work with a food company, I have no stress of creating content unless if it's very specific, other than the fact that I already consume that food because it's food. I need food to live. Yeah. So now all I have to do is just put a camera in front of it.
Mad.
Right, it's crazy. Like, that's the, do you know what I mean? I wish people viewed it more like that rather than a paycheck. It makes things so much easier. Like
100%.
So the strategy is just be consistent. And my strategy now is just development. Because the more I become the best version of myself, my environment may or may not change. But when it does change, it's very apparent. So, you know, which in situations will motivate people, will put me in a position where people are asking questions, or put me in a position where I can actually teach people. So for example, like my idea of documenting, I just document what's in front of me. So 4 years ago, when I was in halls, so back in first year, still living in halls, shared apartments, etc. I've always documented what I was doing. For example, the time lapses that I do when I'm sat on the desk. My environment was very different to now. My environment now is in context, in relation to who I am. So people will be like, yo, I remember when you used to do those time lapses. I hope people still remember when I was in a dark, dingy room like that. It's just like you can clearly tell it's a student accommodation. But the fact that I could capture that environment, and now because things are progressing in my life, I can live in an apartment like this. People are like, oh shit, I remember you're in this position. Now you're in this position. What did you do? As soon as someone asks why, that's an opportunity to add that. Again, you can monetize that. You can give them the answer. You're in a position of power. You have leverage. So now, if I get a car, I don't have a car right now because I'm happy to walk. I'm happy to get the bus. But when the time comes, rather than me just buying a car, which I don't need, but if I buy a car, which is very different and which creates a contrast, people are going to ask, how did you do it? You know what I mean? So the ability to put in a position, again, going back to what I said, being able to manipulate the situation for what it is, it puts in a position of power, in a position of leverage. So if I was driving a Lamborghini right now, a lot of guys, a lot of kids, a lot of people would ask me, how did you get it? But the thing is, if I'm living the lifestyle, which allows me to be the best version of myself, when I attain certain things, they're just a byproduct of the lifestyle. So when I do have a car, people will be like, oh, I remember you used to walk to get the bus, but now you have a car. But you went, rather than getting a normal conventional car, you went from getting a bus to driving, say, a Porsche. So one of my favorite cars is a Porsche GT4 Cayman 718. So you went from that to that. How did you do it? Again, in between, there's a sacrifice. But manipulating the materialistic things, because you know people love materialistic things. And when successful people, they automatically assume that, you know, that's the image. In a way it is, but it puts you in a position where you can actually be in a position where people are actually willing to ask more questions. And based on the questions, you have your own agenda. Based on your questions which you're getting, you can create an online class. You can create a mastermind course. You can create a course and you can start selling. You see what I'm saying? You're already selling before you even had the intention of selling. So if things like that pan out the way I expect them to, say, bro, I can make money in any given situation because I've manipulated and took advantage of the system based on people's desire of wanting things. For the world knowing they're not going to do it, because you can tell them, yo, I did this I did this thing every single day for 6 years. No one's ever going to buy into that. But when you say, yeah, bro, you know, I managed to buy this Ferrari, you know, at the age of 25, and people were like, how did you do it? And you were like, well, you know, I did the X, Y, and Z. People were like, yeah, take my money. But
exactly. Yeah.
Consumers work. So you need to take yourself away from the, again, I hate using this word, but from the sheep mentality, and put yourself in a position of higher understanding and higher power to take advantage, take course of your life, and then there's a pretty good chance you'll be free. Because freedom is currency. So once again, given the situation, personally, I don't go on holiday, but when I put myself in a position where my life becomes a holiday, it becomes traveling the world, nothing means people will be like, oh shit, people can see the contrast. They can feel the contrast. Do you know what I mean? Whereas right now, if I went on holiday, yeah, it's going to put a dent in certain situations of my financial life. And I don't want to do that just to portray an image, because majority of the influencers right now are in Dubai. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hey, bro, you got to finesse the system. So yeah, bro, I feel like I've just been chatting.
That is good, mate. It's interesting to hear.
It's great. It's crazy. Like I can tell, like, again, this is my perspective. You know, people have their methods of doing things. But fundamentally, like I said, it just comes to being obsessed with building yourself and learning every aspect of your life. Don't be one-dimensional. The reason why I was able to grow my social media platforms is because I was not one-dimensional. You know, I did everything for every platform in different formats. You know, my videos were unconventional at the time, and up to a point where I've influenced the shift of where social media content is going for fitness. That's the level of impact, which is nuts, but it's like, whoa, shit. But yeah, be very dynamic in your approach to things.
Perfect, man. So just for like the last kind of topic that we want to speak about, was just kind of plans going forward. So you said that you're kind of just getting started. You're not the best version of yourself yet. So I just want to know, like, what's your aspirations, either just in terms of business or just life in general? What's kind of next for you, do you reckon?
I like that. My biggest goal right now is just to be at peace with what I'm doing, and being in a position to do what I want, how I want it, and when I want it, or when I want to do something. So I feel like the biggest goal, again, taking advantage of the system, is the biggest currency is freedom, and how to attain being free. So freedom, you have to acquire a lot of money. So you need to figure out a goal to make a lot of money so you can get the freedom that you're looking for. And that, again, I understand the reality of, you know, based on how it is. So yes, people say don't put your focus on money. That's true. Don't focus on the money. Just focus on creating the freedom for yourself, and the money will come. So my biggest goal right now is to be free and be able to do what I want, how I want, when I want. And of course, in the process of doing that, based on the nature of what I'm doing, it's going to motivate, inspire, and help other people because of the nature of what I'm doing. So as a standard, as a morally sound individual, as an empathetic individual, as an individual that has, you know, that has heart in what they do, I care about what people think and what people get from me. So if I can help someone to be the best version of themselves, that's the route that I want to take. If I know my product can improve what they're doing in exchange of currency to create my freedom, I'm more than happy to do that. And then also in the future, you can make bigger, you know, more impactful things. You know, I'm a big believer that one man can change the world, but you just need to put yourself in the position to do that. And in most cases, that comes with money. Otherwise, no one's going to listen to you. But yeah, I feel like, obviously, based on what I just said, it feels like a lot about money. Because yeah, it is about money, because that is the quickest way to get yourself out of the system.
Yeah, it's freedom, isn't it?
Get yourself out of the system is the biggest goal for anyone, or it should be. Because if something happens in your family, your loved one is in a very tough situation, and you can't support them in any way, it's a pretty shitty feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to, so in terms of how I do this, again, having multiple businesses that have a purpose and a why would make me very happy. Would make me very happy in doing what I love and just documenting the life. I don't feel like I need to be anything that's not me.
Yeah.
Be in at a certain time of my life where the things that I'm doing are just giving off value. So again, in terms of sponsorships, personally, I don't want to be relying on sponsorships in terms of like in terms of majority of my income. I want it to be like almost like a passive thing.
Okay.
And right now it's semi-passive because again, I'm just documenting what I'm doing and delivering those as deliverables for the contract. So whenever I'm promoting something, it's always an extension of what I'm doing there and then. So for me, I don't like the idea of being the typical influencer who just says, yo guys, buy this, buy that. If you watch carefully in terms of how I promote things, it's very rare. I'll just be on my stories and be like, yo guys, there's X, Y, and Z. It's always intertwined with what I'm doing throughout the day.
Yeah.
Very nice. For me, it's more natural. I feel more comfortable doing that. When I'm in the gym and promoting Gymshark, it's always through some form of content, which I've made whilst I was wearing Gymshark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very rare I go on my own way to create a bit of content to just promote. Like I said, it's far much easier just documenting it. So hence why the sponsors are the way they are, because they cater to my life.
Yeah.
So the chances are my next step would be a lifestyle brand or something like ASOS.
Okay.
So ASOS is probably like the next goal because fashion, my day-to-day stuff, I could wear those kind of things and just put in front of it. And it's far much easier to say, it's far much easier for me to say, guys, this t-shirt's from ASOS if you want it, because I do get those questions. People ask, where are your shoes from? Where's your top from? So it's a very natural way to go. So I feel like you have to be very specific with how you want your life and learning how to monetize everything. So I feel like I said initially, like at the beginning, based on the question that you just asked, I think the biggest achievement will be monetizing everything in my life where I feel like I'm not working and the life is just paying me.
Yeah.
Be me. So which again, based on the end goal, gives you the freedom, financial freedom. So So in terms of just to simplify for the viewers, the goal is freedom. But how you attain that freedom is creating value in exchange for currency, in exchange for money, which puts you in a position of being the individual that you're meant to be, that you're supposed to be. And given that you're in a framework of knowing that your health is important, your happiness is important, and everything else around your life, friends and family, then you'll be able to distribute that freedom.
Cool.
Forward.
So what advice would you give to people listening to this podcast right now in terms of after they finish listening to this podcast to kind of inspire them to get out there and do something and like achieve what they want in their life essentially? What kind of inspiration would you give to them?
It can just be like a 1 minute thing, short bursts.
Get short before I go off on. If you're doing something, like, don't ever give up on the bigger goal and on the end goal. Whatever you're thinking, don't stop. So if one business doesn't work, move on to another one. If one thing doesn't work, move on to another one. But always try to make the best judgment of that thing. So the chances are, if you're trying to build a physique, you might say, oh, well, I don't look good enough. But usually something like that takes a little bit longer. It'll probably take you a good 10 to 20 years.
Yeah. Or they're comparing it to someone else.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if it's business related, so if it's making a product or a service, move on to the next one. If that doesn't work, move on to the next one. So rule number 1, never, ever give up. The day you've given up is the day your dreams have ended. Is the day your freedom is lost. It's the day that, really, you're not the person that you're meant to be. So don't give up, and then just be obsessive with that thing. So self-development is probably the fuel. Like, just knowing that you're the best version of yourself will allow you to do really incredible things. So obsession. Don't get obsessed.
I was going to say, stay dedicated as well, yeah?
Yeah, stay dedicated. Yeah, people are also viewing. I have a brand called Stay Dedicated. Stay dedicated. It doesn't stop. Literally, you could be 60 and you could still.
Exactly. No excuses.
Right. So stay dedicated to the process.
I'll check back on your Instagram and 40 years or whatever, and I'll still see you having your same breakfast.
It's a good habit. I'm just reinforcing my habits.
Yeah.
So when you reinforce these habits in terms of anything that you might do for your life, and especially if it's health orientated, it's like, again, it's only going to benefit you. I mean, the fact that it's a healthy meal, it only promotes my longevity, my life. So if there's anything in life, just hone into that. Just do as much as you can and be consistent. Do it every single day if it makes you happy. Like that breakfast makes me happy. Like nothing. Like I don't force myself to eat that. I want to eat it, and when I don't, I'm like, oh God. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, I'm actually the same, to be fair. I'm literally the same. I pretty much eat the same stuff every day. Same breakfast, bowl of oats every morning.
Exactly.
that's probably your key.
If it's not broken, don't change it.
Exactly. I mean, so yeah, bro. Like, yeah. I mean, for someone in my position right now, I feel like I will only prove my point when I do get there. I mean, so for the people that are watching, maybe one day they'll tune in 5 years and be like, "Oh, I remember that guy from our podcast. He actually did what he said he was going to do." Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Others who don't do that, it's all BS. So
perfect.
Yeah.
So just one final little question would be, obviously we're based around improving people physically and mentally. We're into self-development and fitness. Based on that, is there anybody that you could recommend that we try and get on the podcast next?
Let me think. Jeez.
No pressure, mate.
Yeah, the pressure's on.
I feel like I've got a really good one for you, but I'm just trying to pick. I'm trying to get. Wait, let me just go and look on my phone.
I love that. That's dedication. That is.
I want to make sure that it actually like propels you in the right direction in terms of keeping a good consistency and momentum to what you're doing.
Yeah, because that's what me and Sam were saying before. Like, if it was somebody just like a random influencer with a big following, we genuinely wouldn't get them. And it's easy to say.
Exactly.
It's like it's one thing to say that.
Leverage, like again, put yourself in a position that allows you to leverage the next thing. You've got to be tactical with this thing. You mentioned Mo, right?
Yeah, mentioned that.
Mo?
Sorry?
Have you guys spoke to Mo?
I haven't spoke to him, no.
All right.
I've actually met Mo at an event before.
Yeah. Would you guys be interested? I can set you up with him.
100% be interested. Right. Followed Mo for a long time.
2 seconds. I'll quickly speak to
him. He is literally kind of what inspired us to make this podcast as well. So like two guests back to back who has basically inspired this podcast.
I'll quickly speak to him right now. Yo, Mo, bro. Which are very, very keen to get you on their podcast. I've just wrapped up my podcast with them. Again, these kids, I should say kids. You guys,
young adults, mate. I've got a beard.
Yeah, these guys are still in uni. They're doing bits, so they're just spreading positivity. And I feel like you're the next guy for them. So, bro, I recommend you get an episode with those guys because it'd be awesome to share your story because I know how much I value the stuff that you say. I know this is like so random, but yeah, I'll put their details below, and hopefully you guys can set up something. So, bro, catch you in a bit. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Mate, that is different class.
Strip it down. He's always talking about podcast.
Yeah, like as Sam was saying there, when we initially went into lockdown, Mo's got his website called RET.
Yeah.
I joined that, and that's kind of when we both got into self-development, actually. It was one of the main reasons. So, yeah, we'd love to get him on. That'd be a great podcast, hopefully.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, I feel like he'll obviously be a great guy for you. Mo is a little bit more, he's more out there than I am in terms of, I mean, you've seen his content.
Yeah.
I love the energy.
Yeah.
I feel like he probably answers to certain things that I can't answer, or like certain things that I'm not capable of answering because he's experienced them. Do you know what I mean? So even when I watch content, I'm always learning something.
He's an interesting guy, man. I think.
And he is.
Very interesting. But
that's it. That's all I got for you.
that's class, mate. But just before we end the podcast, do you just want to plug your socials?
Yeah. So yeah, guys, for everyone that's listening, if you want to find me, you can find me on pretty much every platform at Lubomba. So that's Lubomba. You find me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. But my biggest focus right now is to level up Instagram and YouTube and Facebook. So by January, you guys are going to be seeing a lot of my face based on what we've been working on behind the scenes. So it's exciting. So yeah, guys, it's one more checking in. I hope you enjoyed that. If you have any questions, I would say DM me on my Instagram, but again, I do get a lot of DMs, so that's not a promise. But if your question is of value and depth, I will get back to you, because that is why I'm on that platform. And anything else that you have in mind, there's a good chance you find it on my Instagram or my YouTube channel. Yeah.
Perfect, mate. Well, I think we'll end that one there. It's been absolutely great having you on. Learned a lot from that one. It's good to get into your mindset and your self-development habits, all that kind of stuff. So thank you very much for coming on.
Anytime, guys. Thanks.
Cheers, mate.
Right. So thank you very much for listening, guys. If you've enjoyed today's podcast, then please subscribe or follow us on whatever platform you're listening on. Yeah, hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you in the next one.